Now let's create another REST endpoint for path variable. So let's create another method. Get user by ID. And this time it is going to be user ID. And we'll say user ID. Now we need to give the path. Say user comma ID. Now if I give the simple ID like this, it's going to be string. So we need to give the special notation saying that it's a path variable that is using angular brackets. Now we need to capture the ID. So here we need to use another annotation called path variable. So in the path variable, we need to give that exactly the same name that was provided here. So let's check the annotation. What are the values? It has the name or the value. It's exactly the same, and it has the required. By default, it is true. There is no other alternative for this because path variables are important because that is part of our REST endpoint URL itself. Value is equals to ID. What are we doing here? We are capturing ID. We are assigning the value to a user ID here. So let's save it, and once we save it, our live reload will happen and the server will be restarted. Let's test the endpoint, duplicating it, and I'm saying user by ID. Here I'm giving ID as 1001 and send it. Now we got user ID as 1001 as we expect. For example, if I don't give anything, what happens? We got not found resource. So the path variable is very much important. Now, is there another alternative? Do I need to provide every time with this one? No, not required. If the variable name and the path, if it's exactly the same, then no need to mention the ID. What I mean is, if I use the path variable also like this, user ID, and we don't need to define the value. By default, Spring considers the variable name itself as a path variable as well. Server is restarted. Rerun the test. Now we got 1001. Now we'll look at the data types. What I mean by the data type, here we are capturing as a string. Do I need to capture always as a string? No, it is not required. If we mention user ID as a long here, and let me change it to the D. If I change it as a long, then Spring will take care of the converting string into the long. So let's save it and test it. I saved the file and server is restarted. Let's run the test. Now we got 1001 as we expected. So far we learned how to create the get mapping with request param and path variables.